Well, welcome everybody to Tuesday's trainings. My name is Scott Dryden. I am a director here in Wichita, Kansas. And for those who are watching this online after we posted it later, thank you for watching this. Those who are here tonight, it's an awesome time to see you guys again. So we are using Tuesdays as our training time. So I'm calling it Tuesday's trainings, and we're going through some specific things, 6 or 7 topics. Those topics we will then do again, and that's when we need to continue to bring our people, our team, new prospects, etc., even to this timing, because it's important for us to grow, for us to be successful. We have to continually come to these events, come to these moments, and really train ourselves, because the better we get at this, the better we're going to be, the more successful we'll be, and that's what this is all about. Okay? Because how many here, and even watching later, you can raise your hand, how many of you want to be a failure in this? Yeah, raise your hand. Yeah, nobody. Okay? So we want to do our very best, and so that's what tonight's all about. That's what the other trainings are about. And as we initially called these trainings and a little bit more, tonight will probably be the same, as I share a couple of rabbit trails and or our brief training. It doesn't take long to go over these steps, and so we'll get through that. Tonight's training is really taken out of Eric Worre's book. We know that when we went to our boot camp, we had a manual that's taken straight from this. Many of you, if you're on the book club, this was the first book. Very good. I'm in it now. I'm liking it. I'm listening to the audio. It's really, really good. I titled this Closing, but in the book they call it Helping Your Prospects Become Customers and Distributors. And for us, it's affiliates and, of course, agents. And so that's where we're going to be tonight. So if you'd like to take some notes, that's great. What I am going to do when we begin these trainings over week after next week is our last of this bunch, of these 6. Then when we start over with inviting, I will produce a whole notebook that has all 6 trainings in it. All right? It's going to take a little bit to get that done, but then we won't have to produce things from each and every night like I did for the first few. All right? So let's get started. When we look at our customers and our distributors and those who we're talking to about this opportunity, when they talk about it in the book, it was real interesting. His research was he went to all the professionals, all the ones that were really good, and they looked at how they closed. And he's taken the material from that and put it in the Go Pro book. And so the material I'm expressing to you tonight is clearly that. And it's really got some really good stuff in here. And it's usually, like we said last time, how many times have we thrown up on some people? How many have we talked ourselves out of business? They said it again this week. It's kind of interesting. Is if we stay to the script, it is amazing how productive and effective it can be. All right? It's the same thing. When I was preaching and I was 5 years out, 20 some odd years ago, my wife would always tell me, stick to your notes, because I was a verbatim kind of guy. And she'd say, stick to your notes, because every time I would do a rabbit trail, I might bring you back, And it's the same way with this business. We can talk ourselves out of it. And so when they were trying to determine the specifics of closing, the specifics of the commitment, they went to professionals. And that's where they got the notes. And so I find it rather refreshing that we know that what we're getting is from one of the best, if not the best, in the industry, as well as from information from others. And so let's just jump right into it. They have a statement in here that says it's my job to get them to commit. That's it. We want them to say yes. All right? And when we talk, and they already were a yes, and we decided when we already had them that we wanted to talk more and more about it, then we pushed that yes into a no. That's happened. I've done it. But the whole goal here is to get them to say yes. And so that what they've talked about is it's how we hold ourselves. It's our posture. So they talk a great deal when you come into a room, when you're sitting down on a one-on-one, whether you're in a home meeting, whether you're in a business meeting, wherever, it's very, very important how we hold ourselves. They call it posture in the book. Because you can tell a great deal about someone how they hold themselves. Because if they don't hold themselves real well and may have some knowledge, you're going to think, well, you're going to start judging. I mean, I do. I mean, how many times have you come to a situation where I went to a place to get a haircut one time, and that person looked like they didn't really care about cutting hair. They were sloppy. And I'm thinking, I'm risking my hair. And if you know me, you don't touch with my hair. Okay, some of you don't have that problem. Okay, you don't have any. Okay, that was a bad joke. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. But my point is you have to hold yourself. Okay. Okay, that wasn't meant for you. I'm sorry. I was. Yeah.
I had to move the lights so I wouldn't.
I know. But you look good. You carry bald well. See? Posture. Right there. Great posture. Okay? And if you look at those, and after tonight, when we have gatherings, when we have trainings, when we have our meetings, look at the posture of those on your team. I've got a couple, and I'm just like, man, please. You know, their posture. Not how we hold ourselves, but literally posture. You know, if you see someone, you know, and it affects it. It immediately draws a wall, and you come off less effective. So what we need to know is when we're closing, when we're talking with our prospect, we need to be the very best we can be. We need to look our very best. We need to hold ourselves. And that's why we have to do these things over and over and over again till we get them and we master them. That's the whole thing about this business, is to master each of the steps. Master inviting, master presenting, master getting started, mastering closing, mastering how to get 20 in 30 days, which is next week. We need to master these things. Sorting. In our boot camp, there's a whole section about sorting. All right? I have never heard that before, but it's basically positioning your people around the bases in order to get them to home plate. You know, but they call it sorting. That was all brand new to me. And so, but when we look at this, and they've talked to the professionals, and they say there's 5 things about good posture. And that's what we're going to go through. Number 1, professionals, these professionals that they talked to were emotionally detached. Okay? They were emotionally detached. And this is what I mean by that. I've done it. And I need to really do this one because I'm a passionate person. And so I can be really, really consumed by a specific area of identity recovery. And I'm really going to be passionate about it. And it will come off emotionally attached. And it's not pretty. Okay? It's not very pretty at all. Because what they say in here is their goal of it is education and understanding while helping the prospect make a decision that would possibly impact their life. They are the opposite of the needy. That's the point. What I do is I come off, and we may do that. We may think that anybody and everybody we ever talk to has to have one. They got to have a membership. They got to have this. Now, quite frankly, they do, but we come off like this needy. You've got to have, you know, and it's our passion that usually drives that. But the professionals, It's clear cut and they're detached from that. And it's really important that the message they're trying to say is we don't have to get everybody. All right? So it's real important that we stay detached, because what we're trying to do is we're just trying to get them to understand what the information is. We're educating. We're not promoting. We're not prospecting. We're educating people on the fact that identity theft is the #1 crime. It's the fastest growing crime. They're reaching out to our children. It's a mess. Now, today, y'all know this person. She's on my team. I met with her today and talked about it. Her story, we're going to record it. And we're going to post it. We're going to play it. We're going to use it as a tool to get people to understand the reality of what it means to have your identity stolen. I'm telling you, we were in tears in Starbucks this morning, and I'm telling you, I've never been moved by someone's story, and it was 20 years ago, but I mean, unbelievable story. Not just like we hear, oh, my identity got stolen, they bought a house and all this. It was life or death. They were hunting her down to kill her so they could use her Social Security number. I mean, it was, and then the ultimate identity theft in the same process, which is human trafficking. Just remember, ultimate identity theft is human trafficking. That's a whole nother topic, a whole nother vision that we can cast a little bit later, but not in this particular training. But what I'm saying is that story conveyed, okay? And so when we look at the professionals, when we look at this information, real important to not feel so needy when you're trying to bring the people in and close them. Because our job is what? To get them committed. To get them to sign, to get them to believe it. And it's all about education. So the second thing, when they were talking to these professionals and looking at the 5 things that is about good posture, okay? One is not being emotionally attached, but detached. And the second one is that these professionals were very assumptive in their approach, okay? When we talk about the importance of this being assumptive in our approach, we know that the product we have is rock solid. We know what we have is unbelievable. It's to me, everybody should have this because of the day and the world we live in. Okay? Times have changed. Since 9/11, times have changed in many aspects of our world. And times have changed when it's come to the age of technology. Times have changed. So I believe everyone should have this. And in due time, it'll grow and it'll grow and it'll grow and it'll grow. And because we're where we're at, we will benefit greatly. And that's why when we come with this assumptive approach to these people, it's very, very important that they understand this. And you know, what's interesting is in this, there are some that are actually be shocked that they got involved. There were some pastors that I hadn't even shared this with, but they've seen everything that I've been doing and communicating and talking about, and they came to me. And so with an assumptive approach is I didn't think that they would even have a clue and even want it, but they came to me. And so it's interesting when we look at that, when we look at our people that we're talking to at our events, at our home events, one-on-ones, etc., is to look at these things that help us with this good, confident posture. Okay? Now, the third thing is a very interesting thing is we have to promote ourselves as much as the product. This is what the professional said. And what that means is we have to be an expert. We have to know this. We have to have a clear understanding of this because we are the messenger of this message. All right? And so oftentimes, and that's why I have this web of social media, and I call it the web, but it's scottdryden.com, and it has all my buckets in it. And I'm using that not to toot my own horn and say that I've got this publishing project, or I've got 2 nonprofits that I'm working, or I've got this business, or a basketball program, all that stuff, or come hear me preach. It's not that. But what I'm doing is I want to hold myself well with this good posture. But what I'm having to do is I need to promote myself just as much as the product. That's what they say is very important to do. Because if we don't feel good about ourselves in this, people are not going to feel good about the product. They're not. They're going to go, and there's a fine line between that passion of tooting our own horn and feeling good about ourselves and how we hold ourselves. All right, this good posture that the book talks about, as well as being so cocky and confident, and where it moves and it's ugly. And we know those type of people who come off that way. We do not want to be that way, but there's a fine line in this, in what we can learn from the professionals and how we hold ourselves and how we look at these posture items, these posture steps, all right, is we need to promote ourselves because, hey, I'm a director in this company. And people are coming to me. It's crazy. People are calling me, or people are posting on Facebook, saying some things. And before, this is what I mean about this. I think this is what really just came to me. When I was in a previous one, in a nutrition world, I was almost ashamed to promote it on Facebook and when my friends called me. Because I wasn't confident, I didn't have a good posture, and it was one of those gigs. You know what I'm saying? But this one, as I was in a conversation today with Brian McLean, and he kind of laughed at it, and I was telling him about our first opportunity to see this, and I said it didn't take 10 seconds for me to put my card down. And I didn't even, and in the beginning, it was because all about the timing, and it was new. I said, I didn't even like the product. And he laughed. I didn't care about the product. I just liked position. That's all I saw. And the fact that there was a nonprofit church fundraising component to it. But then I got into the product, got an understanding of the product, and I realized the stats and the world we're living in this, I decoded the environment, I did my research, and then I realized, man, the product we have, it's amazing. It's something else. And then your kind of gears shift, and then that's when you kind of begin to hold yourself a little different. And now, I'm going to be talking all day long to all my friends all over the country. I have 1,532 friends on Facebook, okay? And I'm going to those that are personal ones, that are good high school friends or college friends or church friends or whatever, I'm going to communicate to them the need of having this product and feel good about it. So in that, I'm promoting myself just as much as I'm promoting the product. Very, very important. And so moving down to 4 is the fourth item about good posture, and when we're trying to close, when we're trying to get the commitment, is we have to be prepared. We're in the beginning, so 6 months down the road, it'll be much different. The agents and the distributors, agents, the affiliates will have different tools. As they've told us, soon there will be tools in the back office. That's the way every one of these things work. We will get to say 6, 9 months, a year and a half, 2 years down the line, when we're going all over the country doing trainings, we're headlining events because we're the beginners. We're the core of the very front, and all of those who have that skill set, all of those that have a specific niche in the industry will be doing certain things. That's just part of the nature of the business. Okay? And that's why we have to master these things. Is because we're going to be there. Like if you've been a part of one before, they said, and I'll say this over and over, well, when we were first in, we had a brochure. We couldn't get cards. Back office didn't work. All the stuff that happens in Glitch in the beginning. And now look at you guys. It's easy train. You guys got all the tools. You got all this, the videos. And that happens, So as we are looking and understanding these tools, these steps, these procedures of having a good posture and holding ourselves, the next one I'm talking about is always being prepared. Okay? Have you gone into a meeting and have not thought about where that person is coming from? Yeah. Where they are financially, where they're at spiritually, where they're at relationally. Okay, is it a husband and wife team, and are you going to need that wife's buy-in? Okay, there's a 1,001 different factors in there that we have to do our own homework, which helps us be prepared. Okay, very, very important. And having our business cards, having brochures, having additional CDs that they're going to start producing. We can get extra books. We can get extra Rise of the Entrepreneur videos of the documentary, things of that nature. We don't have a whole lot of those now, but yet we still need to be prepared with those kind of tools so that the people that we're trying to get a commitment out of at least have something to see and look, hear, feel, taste. You know what I'm saying? Because they say it takes 2 or 3 times. Rarely does it take 9 seconds for somebody to get involved. Okay? It just doesn't happen. Sometimes it does. It did with me. But I saw it from a different perspective. And I'm a person who makes decisions very quick. Because it's clear water and muddy water with me. It happens in this. If I have muddy water, I won't move. I did not have muddy water at all that day. None. It was very clear right off the bat. And so spiritually and relationally and who I am as a person, I knew that was a good fit. And we're all that way. We all have that kind of way we make decisions and move about, We just have those. And then I knew I had to go home and tell my wife. I didn't at the last one. I signed up first. She said, never, ever do that again. I said, yes, ma'am. And so how did I have to defend that this time? Okay. Well, I went in holding good posture. I said, you ain't believe this is it. She said, that's what you said in the last one. This is the most awesome one, because by the time Starbucks to home and the rest of the day when she come in that evening, I had already got my game on. I already knew what to say. I'd already practiced in the mirror. Yeah, I do. And I was prepared. Just like this. When we want to close, because I needed to close her. It's no different. I needed for her to understand why this was important to me. And I did. The last one I didn't. That's the difference. She used to call it, are you going to your little... and with resentment, and it was a mess, and it caused the issue of my marriage. That's why I got out. Because I could never get her buy-in. Never did. Even making lots of money. Never got her buy-in, because it wasn't us. You know what I'm saying? And this one's much different. And what I did was I was prepared. Same thing we have to do with those folks that we get in our circle. We've got to be prepared, because we have to be professional. We have to look good. We have to know it. We have to master it. And it has to flow off our tongue like silk. Not everyone is good at that. We all have different little niches. We'll find those exact places to be as we grow as an organization, as we grow as a team. We'll find that. And then we're going to move together like this. And I can just see it. It's going to be a really, really fun time. Okay, the last one is ask lots of questions and be a great listener. Listening skills are just absolutely critical in life. Many times with the occupation we have, but also just in this particular business world. We've got to ask a lot of questions. And what happens in that, when we ask those questions, it helps us know where to move in the conversation. It knows where we need to move for them to become an agent. It knows, or are we just only going to, this is a customer. You know, they're really not into business. They're not really into, not into these things that we're going to get into in just a second, which is called the 4 questions at closing. All right, I call them the 4 Qs. All right, and so when we ask these questions and after question, we have to not talk so much. We have to ask the question, stop and listen, and it'll help us if we're listening really, really well and effectively. As I said, it'll maneuver that situation towards the commitment one way or another. They won't leave empty-handed that way. All right? Very, very important. So, they talk about in the book that there's 2 great questions that lead up to a sign-up. And one is when they see the video, they watch it online, they see a YouTube video, they read the brochure, they've listened to your story, whatever that little avenue is, you have to ask that question, did it make sense to you? Does it make sense why a person really, really needs identity recovery assurance? And when you lead with that open-ended question and you're a good listener, it'll move you a little closer to where you need to be at getting the commitment from them. And then, of course, it's the typical thing that we find in this industry is, what did you like best about the video? You know, once again, I don't know if it's my rebellious nature or what, but that's a question I don't ask a lot. But yet the professionals say ask it. So what I have to do to get better, and as always being teachable and want to be a learner, is I'm going to have to really gear myself up into asking that question. You know, what did you like best about it? I just try to maneuver it a different way. And so what this is doing and teaching me is to really apply the steps that the professionals have tested, they're tried, and they're true. And if we can adopt those, I believe it's going to increase our effectiveness, it's going to increase our ability to be prepared, to close, all of these things. And so that's my challenge to everybody, is that let's go pro. Interesting title. That's why it's there. Let us go pro. Let us be a professional at this business. All right? So as we kind of move through here, the 4 Qs to closing. All right? And we've heard our upline say these things. We've seen it in videos. And the first question to really kind of move into that commitment is it really, you know, you have question 1, 2, 3, and then the 4th one is basically, if you could do that, that, and that, then this is what the outcome is going to be. So we're basically, through these questions, trying to maneuver them one step at a time to the commitment. Try to get the answer out of them after they've heard all the stuff, is that it moves them into the commitment. The first question is, how many dollars would you want to make in this? I mean, where do you want it? Do you want to make $500 to $1,000 a year, like 90-some-odd% do in the direct marketing world? Would you like to make extra $500 a month? Would you like to make an extra $1,000 a month? Or do you just want to be filthy, stinking rich? Okay? Then forget everything else, die to this, and it might happen. All right? With a little bit of blessing from the Creator above and a whole lot of luck and timing and time, you know, all that stuff. But it's real important to ask these questions to find out exactly where they're at. Now, some will say, I don't know. I don't want to be. And then you have to be very quick on your feet for, it's kind of like some of those assumptions. Some of those objections that we have when we're talking. We have to already know what they may say to object to what we've been saying. And then it's typical sales stuff. You've already got to be there. You've already got to know it. And in the reading material for the book club, there's a book down the end of it, probably late summer, early fall. It's called The Little Red Book of Sales by Jeffrey Gitomer. All right? What I was saying right there comes out of that book. And interesting enough, 25 years ago, I was working for a international design firm prior to ministry. And I moved myself up through the company and was in marketing and sales of large exhibits for trade show, like Disney Interactive, Viacom, New World Television, all these things that, Cessna, all these things that, 10,000 square foot exhibit booths, and they spend $3-4 million on them in a short time, 3 days or a week. And I went and I actually had the opportunity to spend 2 days with Jeffrey Gitomer, and I was so green, I had no clue. It was this craziest thing. And that's what I remember from him all these years. And then when I saw that book, I thought, wow, that's interesting enough that our leaders have chosen that book when it comes to some of the professionals in how important it is to get a person into this business and to close and to commit. It's getting them to understand how much money do you want to make. That determines other steps. And so then you move, once you get an idea of how many hours how much money they want to work, then you have to decode it. You have to break it down one more step, and then you have to ask them, well, actually, how many hours are you willing to commit to make that income? They may have not ever thought about it. So what you're trying to do is you're moving them towards the commitment. You're getting them to a real-time thought process in what it's actually going to take. Because many, many, many people don't realize the hard work that goes into this. The consistent thinking process of this every day. Taking steps every day. Because that's why 90-some-odd% don't do a whole lot with this. It's because I believe they haven't weighed the cost. The good book talks about, you got to weigh the cost of what you're going to do. You got to weigh the cost of what you're trying to build. You have to know and understand how much this house is going to cost me to build it, or this business to build it, or this relationship to build it, or this spiritual life to build it. We all have to know what it's going to take for us to reach a certain point of peace, security, or contentment, all of these adjectives that we can throw into that. So not only do we ask them how many dollars do they like to make, what kind of income would they like? Secondly, how many hours is it going to take to make that? And then, how many months are you willing to draw a window around it? You know what I'm saying? From point A to point B, how many months are you going to willing to commit? That was my wife's first question. Okay. How are you going to do this? Okay, give me a window that if it doesn't come out like you've said, then are you going to chalk it all up? Are you done? And the one before, I was like, I don't know. I couldn't do that. This one, right off the bat, I said February 27th. I said, then 90 days. Okay, I'm still there. I'm clearly moved because I know what's happened in the February 27th, the success we had, even though there's glitches, even though there's this, it doesn't matter. It propels me in the next 90 days. So as we move through this in the next 90 days, it's going to propel me for the next 6 months. Okay? And what they're trying to do, what we're trying to do in this to help us grow and be successful is these 90-day time frames of working it. Okay? We've got to look at that. It's very, very important. And they've already begun that. From those that went to the training is end of May. That's a 90-day gig. And we are expected to perform a certain way. Our goal, we have our goals out in front of us. This is what we've got to do. And it's like for me, if I'm producing an event, I start from that date and I then set the parameters back to now. And then I know what steps I have to do to meet these individual little goals. And if I do that, then the big goal of 90 days I will meet. And so I have to stay committed at the little goals. And that's every day. I know I have to do this, 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 and this. I've got to draw these people in. I've got to follow up with these people. I've got to call these new people. I've got to send these 15 texts. I've got to shoot these 3 emails. And it's all consuming. You know, if you have a full-time job, then you got another full-time job. We do. To be successful and be good at this, we must work very hard, very consistent, and be professional at it. That's why these trainings are all about. That's why we want to get there. Because anybody else want to do this halfway? No. We all want to do it our very best. Even though we may not have all this down, and none of us do. None of us. We want to get there. Just once. Just once. I want to get there. And be at that place where I can stand up one day and say, man, in the beginning, all we had was brochures. And we're sitting somewhere, you know. Because that's where we're headed. And we're so new. And that's why these trainings, we have to reiterate, and reiterate. In 2 weeks, it'll all be about inviting. Jay's going to start leading those. All right? Then it's everybody else. Okay? Because everybody else can do this. That's what we need to do. Is these times will be a handful of select people because we need to know that and to lead all those 50 plus that need to be here tonight that aren't. And then it'll be 100 plus, and then the room will be 200, and then our rooms will be full at our trainings. That's how they progress. Okay? It will grow and grow and grow and grow if we're effective, if we're doing and taking the steps that the professionals have taught us to go pro. Very, very important. Okay, the third question, the first one is, how much money do you want to make? Second one is, how many hours are you willing to commit? The third one is, how many months? What kind of time frame window are you going to do it? And then the fourth one is, if I can show you how you can get to making those dollars, if I can show you how many hours a week you'd need to do this, and if I can show you that if you did these things in this amount of time, this is where you would be. Then it kind of closes them. It gets them to commit. It draws them in because what you're doing is you're giving them all the facts. You're giving everything that they need to think about, pray about, process, and then get them and draw them back in. Now, something that we will be doing in the future as well is understanding personality and temperament. All right? Because it's you lead different type of people different ways. The party throwers, the fun-loving kind of people, and they use different colors in this organization. It's a different model than I'm used to, but they're all the same categorically assigned people. The party throwers, you sell it, you share it, you educate them in a way that draws them in. The analytical ones, the brainiacs, those that have to process it, then you have to feed them specific information in this moment, in this time of commitment, so that they get it. Okay? Because if you try to lead a person about all the facts, all about the structure, all about the binary, all about the tendencies, the growths, all the analytics involved in looking at business, to the party thrower, the fun-loving person who just wants to save the world. You're not going to give them. They're not going to buy. They're not going to commit. They just won't. And so that's real important. And those trainings will come in the future for us. Real important. You need to get some books about understanding body language. That goes along with the skill set, the temperament, the personality, and the giftings and things of that nature. Because that's how you build teams. You want a specific group of people in your team that have a specific skill set, how to work a certain type of people, etc., etc. That's real important, okay? So, tonight we've looked at the importance of closing and what we have to do. It's real important that we hold ourselves with a confident posture. We take these steps. We ask a lot of questions. We're good listeners. We ask them more questions that lead them in a little closer. And then, as we just went through, you ask the 4 closing questions. And then it kind of draws them down to what we originally wanted to do, was get them to commit. And this is what the Reverend Billy Graham always does. Not used to, always does. At the very beginning of his crusades, he would say, in just a little bit, I'm going to ask you to commit your life to Jesus Christ. There's going to be a challenge. I want you to come up, he'd tell them what he's going to do. All right? And sure enough, at the end of that, here they'd come. And by the thousands, all right? It's because nobody wants to follow you unless they know where you're going. They won't follow you. They won't commit. So that's why the passion and the casting of the vision of this is so very important in the beginning. All right? Very important. So that was all for free. It wasn't in my notes. But anyway, all right. Thank you very much. One more time. This was our Tuesday night trainings. Thank you very much. Be blessed.